Good afternoon mga katribu and welcome to Usapang Business, a weekly talk show that discusses business interests and of course this is in support of the small medium enterprises that operates in the country. Today we will be discussing about cybersecurity because cybersecurity is the biggest threat in the digital technology space right now. In fact, the bad actors in this space have always been one step ahead of our cybersecurity experts because they can always circumvent our security. So to tell us how we can protect our digital assets, we are honored to have an expert in the cybersecurity space, no other than Steven Schuerman from Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks is a global cybersecurity leader. The company innovates to outpace cyber threats, and the company also embraces technology with confidence. It provides next-gen cybersecurity to thousands of customers globally across all sectors. It is best-in-class cybersecurity platforms and services are backed by industry-leading threat intelligence and strengthened by state-of-the-art automation. Whether deploying its products to enable the zero trust enterprises and responding to a security incident or partnering to deliver better security outcomes throughout a world class partner ecosystem, it is committed to helping ensure each day is safer than the one before. It's what makes Palo Alto Networks the cybersecurity partner of choice. At Palo Alto Networks, it is committed to bringing together the very best of the people in the service, and its mission is it is proud to be the cybersecurity workplace of choice and recognized among Newsweek's most loved workplaces in 2022. And comparably, this is the best company for diversity, in 2021, and HRC best places for LGBTQ plus equality in 2022. So, good afternoon, Mr. Steven Schuberman. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, and Mabuhay, Philippines. Thank you for the invite and the opportunity to have this discussion.
And thank you very much for gracing our show, and thank you very much for taking time to be with us. This is very timely because cybersecurity is a growing threat. It is expected to be $1 billion industry in the next couple of years. In fact, it's what because of the evolution in the next and the rapid transition adoption of digital technology among businesses. Cybersecurity is becoming a big threat and a big opportunity, of course, for companies like Palo Alto to provide to keep us safe and secure in our day-to-day operations. So, can you tell us more about these data breaches? What are the common data breaches, and what are the potential consequences if companies do not protect themselves against cyber threats?
Uh, okay, so there's a couple things here.
Mm-hmm.
So firstly, I want to you use the terminology, and I heard the word several times, the threat.
Yes.
The threats, of course, exist. The role and responsibility of Palo Alto Networks is to allow organizations, citizens, and the people of the Philippines to embrace digital life, digital payments, the digital economy, basically the improvement in everything that we do. So the key part is to identify the threat,
Mm-hmm.
to understand the threat, and importantly, we use a term, how to be cyber fit.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't ignore or avoid digital. I mean, I always use this silly comment, if you want to live in a cave, yeah, maybe possible, but I mean, let's be realistic. The Philippines has roughly 112 million people,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a large country. 70+%, I think, are below the age of 30. So it's a very young population. So digital way of life is the norm. You have citizens that use many of the banks
Mm-hmm.
to pay for services. You have many citizens that go online to do shopping. You have many citizens, for example, that go to Rustam's Coffee or Jollibee to have lunch and dinner using digital payments. So the threats are there, of course. But how do you protect?
Mm-hmm.
How do you educate? and how do you be proactive to prevent digital threats is the more important element. And that's what we do. We are 100% committed to help people to embrace the digital way of life in a level of confidence and trust that you can not be scared.
Yeah, the pandemic, yeah, you mentioned very accurate statistics. In the Philippines, we have 112 million population. 70% of the population are very young. The demographics are very young. And I think 70%, more than 70% of the population are digitally connected. The penetration of mobile phones here, I think, is 90%. And 50% of the population have actually purchased or made purchases using digital technologies or digital means during the pandemic. So the adoption of the digital lifestyle has really accelerated in the Philippines during the pandemic. So how do you now educate the public using all these digital technologies to be cyber fit so that they can manage the threats of these bad actors?
Okay, so it's a great question. So I work for a technology company. So we sell solutions. So that is one part. I represent an organization, a company that has market leading products in the network, in the cloud, at the endpoint, in the application development lifecycle. So this is critical. So we are a leader in the cybersecurity space. But technology alone is not the total solution. So I talk about cyber fit. So another part of what we do and what I'm personally committed to is the education of persons to behave in the right way, to respect digital and do best practice. So as a simple example, you should secure your account. You know, it sounds very simple, but many of us do not change our passwords. Many of us do not have complex passwords, so we use very simple passwords: date of birth, my wife's name, my girlfriend's name, etc. So we're not, using accounts in the right manner. So we're making it easy for bad actors to attack. The other thing, of course, around your accounts is two-factor authentication. So you will see now that banks have multiple levels of passwords before you can do a transaction. So it might be your passcode to go in, and then there might be a token to give you an electronic key to do a banking session. So two-factor authentication. So that's about securing accounts. Another thing is about we're all online. Nowadays, we all have smartphones. So we're connecting to the internet all the time. So how do you protect your web browsing? Many of us connect to the web. I talked about Rustam's coffee. So if I'm in the Philippines, I almost certainly will be in a coffee shop and you connect to the Wi-Fi. During that session, when you're connected to the Wi-Fi, you could and may be very vulnerable. So best practices is, should you clear the cache? Should you be using a virtual private network, a VPN? That may not be for everyone, but it does provide you an additional layer of security. Obviously, if you're in Rustam's and you decide to pay bills and do your banking, it's probably a good idea to have a VPN because you're conducting very confidential type of transactions and you don't want anyone to know what your passcode is and or your bank account details. So that's two examples. I mean, to start off how to be cyber fit. So the point here is there's a person element that we have a responsibility to behave in the right way. And we have to train people to have this mindset. It's a mindset thing.
Yeah, you've mentioned mindset thing and the adoption of the digital lifestyle has come to us very rapidly. It's very sudden, and then after the pandemic, because of the rapid adoption of digital technology, there have been a surge in digital scam, especially in mobile data in the Philippines. So that the government was forced to draft a law making SIM card registration in mobile phones mandatory. So, in fact, there are some speculations that the reason why these bad actors were able to access our phone numbers and even our personal data, because they're actually sending you all these scams, and then they can identify your name and even your birthday or even your middle name. So obviously there was a third party involved here. So that's the speculation that a third party sold this information to some bad actors. And uh, for is because, but then when you say apply for a bank, or even when you create your Facebook account or your Twitter account, or when you answer an online survey, you provide data there, and this data is of course stored by the third party. So how vulnerable is private citizens data from third party
Uh,
sources? How can we protect ourselves? How can we
Okay.
protect our data from these third party companies who have the consciously or unconsciously provide bad actors our private data?
Yeah. So there's a couple things here. Um, you would have seen now the themes here. Cyber is complex, so
Mm-hmm.
my responses have different levels and parts. So organizations like banks,
Mm-hmm.
it's critical. The regulator. So in the Philippines, it's BSP. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
the central regulator has very clear guidelines in terms how data is collected,
Mm-hmm.
how it's stored, and how it's protected. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so very clear guidelines. And I'm very pleased to see BSP, the regulator in the Philippines, has started this. So that's great because
Mm-hmm.
in many other countries, there's a debate about this. But BSP has been very proactive in terms of creating the guidelines. It's the beginning. That's one level. The organizations themselves have a responsibility how they collect and use your data. So, as an example, in the EU, GDPR, there's very strict guidelines how your data is used. So, for example, if they're collecting your data and they intend to use it, they have to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, we're going to use your information for an advertising campaign, meaning it might get to a third party or a fourth party or a fifth party. So, there's very clear guidelines to the institutions, the banks, the insurance companies, the telcos, etc. So, that's a second element. The third element is us individually. Our data is our most critical piece which defines who I am. How you use your data is really important. So you must be thinking all the time. I'm always amazed. So we talked about young people, okay? And the Philippines has a lot of young people that are on Facebook and Instagram. You still have young people that post on Instagram their boarding pass. Oh, I'm flying to Singapore. And you will ask them the question, why have you done that? Oh, it's okay, Stephen. It's just my name. There's no passport number, etc. But this is actually the wrong mindset because you're already exposing your name.
Mm-hmm.
With your name alone, a bad actor can start scraping the internet to create what's called a fictitious persona.
Mm-hmm.
He can build a person's profile. He
Mm-hmm.
might use your name, someone
Yeah.
else's date of birth, some other criteria to create a persona, then to conduct a bad act.
Mm-hmm.
So the point being is the national regulator, the institutions themselves, and we as individuals all have a role in protecting our personal data. We should take it very seriously. You should not be sharing your data. You shouldn't be passing it out. You shouldn't be posting it. I mean, I give you an example. I went to the dentist the other day, registration, you fill in a form at the counter. It was a list with people's names. I immediately said to the receptionist, your process is wrong. I don't want my name here with my personal identity
Mm-hmm.
number on this page with other people. I now can see everyone's name here. And with my memory, I can probably memorize more than half the list already.
Mm-hmm.
So bad practices expose data everywhere. It might be someone probing a database and stealing everything. It might be an individual just doing a post. We all have a role in protecting our data. And the first step is understanding data is really important. We need to protect it.
Yeah, talking about data, like your experience with your dentist yesterday, because in the Philippines during the pandemic, we signed so many forms. Every time we go to the mall, we have to sign um, a piece of paper. There will be our name there, our contact details and address, so that they can contact trace that we went to that place, so that if there's an outbreak, the government can easily track us down. And that's the problem in data privacy. That created a big problem in data privacy during that pandemic. And of course, that was an emergency, and we also have to comply. So educating the public that they have to protect their data during the pandemic was really a nightmare. And then speaking of data, in the Web 3, the next evolution of the internet, the so-called Web 3, well, it will be decentralized, and that the control and management of data will be given back to the users. So can you walk us through how will it happen? How will the Web 3 evolution of the internet use will give the users back management of our data?
Yeah, so I made reference to GDPR in Europe. So already by law in Europe, if your data is being collected by the private sector or the government, they have to disclose how your information is being used. You as an individual then can opt in or opt out. So I predict in our part of the world, and you're starting to see it, the different regulators. So BSP in the Philippines, MAS in Singapore, RBI in Australia, etc. Everyone has following certain guidelines. Some of them are copying GDPR. Some are doing slight variations as per the country. But the key part is disclosing that your information's been collected, and then requesting you as an individual to opt in or opt out. Now, if you opt in and your data gets used, you can't complain. You're also starting to see software vendors. So I'll give you an example, one that's very easy to know. If you have an iPhone, the latest operating systems, if you install social media, for example, the Apple OS will prompt you, do you agree that your data is being shared and used, etc. So you're starting to see software vendors also respond to how your data is being used by telling you your data is being collected and or the possibility it might be used. So at the end of the day, it's going to be up to us as individuals to decide, yes, I'm okay with my data being used, or no, I'm not going to opt in. But of course, if you don't opt in, you may not get the full services. So the choice becomes you as a consumer, what do you decide to do? But of course, the question then arises, does the consumer understand by opting in what could happen? And that's where education comes in. Education is a key part of all of this.
Yeah, but let me expound on that. Like, if you decide to opt out, and
Yep.
you can't get the full service,
Yep.
is there a law anywhere? There's no law here in the Philippines about that. Is there any way this telcos or these services can be compelled to provide consumers or the public with their complete services
Yeah.
without
I mean,
us opting in?
yeah, I've yet to see that. It comes down, and I'm not an expert on the laws of the Constitution of the Philippines, but in certain services, to your point, there's a responsibility of organizations to provide certain services to citizens of the country. What those services are deemed as must deliver, I'm not sure where the Constitution, I'm not a constitutional expert, but in terms of, if you look at GDPR as an example, again, consumers have the option, knowing that their data may be shared or sold to a third-party marketing company, to say, no, I don't want that. Likewise, they can say after 2 years, if my contract ceases, I want all my data to be deleted. Now, how far other countries will follow, let's wait and see. This is what, I mean, this is so happening right now, it's hard to predict.
Yeah.
powers with the people.
Yeah.
The favorite song, powers with the people. So I mean, we have an important say in this, and again, it's back to education that we understand. So it comes back to a topic and a term that I want to introduce here: zero trust.
Mm-hmm.
So for Palo Alto Networks, zero trust is really important. Implicit trust uh, is something to be very cautious about. So we talked a lot about young people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The elderly are also part of this implicit trust discussion. Let's use the elderly. So I always use my father as an example. So he's almost 80. The elderly come from a generation where they trust people. You know your neighbor, you talk to each other. You probably know he or she has kids. You know their ages. If something happens, in their generation, a car breaks down, someone will stop and help. I mean, that was just that generation. People trusted each other. The sense of fear just wasn't there because, I mean, why would someone try to trick me?
Mm-hmm.
Let's fast forward to the recent 2, 3 years with COVID. The elderly have been incredibly vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
because they come from a generation trusting. So when someone sends them a message, "Oh, Stephen, we noticed that you have problems, you can't order food. Click on the following link so we can help deliver food to you." You go and click on it. Oh, someone's trying to help me. And guess what? Before I know it, it's a phishing incident and my details have been stolen and my bank account has been emptied.
Yeah.
So trust, for Palo Alto Networks, the work we do is providing that digital experience that you can do online payments. You can, work from home. You can work from multiple locations. In the Philippines, you have an archipelago of many, many provinces. You have Mindanao down in the south. You have Quezon. You have Manila, etc. In all those different locations, when people are logging on, they're doing their job, but you still have to trust them. So how do you introduce trust knowing it's safe? So that's a big part of what we do. It's how to ensure every point of engagement we're constantly validating, is this really Stephen? Can we trust him? Should he
Mm-hmm.
be given access? So ongoing trust and validation is critical to what we do,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in the world we live in now, because unfortunately, it's very difficult to trust people.
Yeah, and of course, I agree with you that we really have to protect our data because as they said, data is the most precious commodity today and in the coming year. So, in fact, the fact that there are scammers using your data to scam you means data is very important because they were able to do that because they have your data. So going to because earlier we've been discussing about the personal data protection now. So let's go to a bigger organization. So what are the challenges that lie ahead for businesses with increased priority in data privacy and protection as in by legislation like the Data Privacy Act and the rollout of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the Check, Protect, Report or the CPR information drive?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple things again. So I want to flag the positivity here because we talk a lot about threats and fear, the purpose of this discussion is I don't want people to go away scared.
Okay.
Or it's important you go away, okay, I need to be cyber fit. I need to educate myself. I need to behave with respect when I'm online. And important to know there are organizations like Palo Alto Networks that can help you. So that's a point. On check, protect, and report from BSP, I think that's great. I mean, then again, that speaks to the focus on educating and protecting financial consumers. Why is that important to the Philippines? So, despite COVID over the last 3 years, the Philippines has survived and continued to operate because of SMEs, the
Mm-hmm.
small to medium sized organizations, the mums and fathers that sell things online, they have the little restaurant, the little shop selling goods, etc. And they've been able to do that because they've been digitally enabled. So it's really important to check and protect these type of organizations to continue to educate, This will not go away. Digital transformation is key to the future growth of the Philippine economy. But let's do it in a way to protect every person that has a small business, every person that goes online, every transaction that happens in the Philippine economy. Now, the challenges going forward is, of course, clearer regulations. We as an organization work with the regulators and with the banks and with the insurance companies and with the telcos
Mm-hmm.
to skill them up. So a lot of the work we do in the Philippines is training the people we work with. So, for example, we work with USAID, training young Filipinos to have the skill sets, because many organizations in the Philippines, even if they want to do something about this, they don't have the expertise. So we're actively involved with USA to train the people that if you want to find someone with cyber skills, they exist. The last part of this is, how we work with organizations to be more efficient in their digital transformation. What should they be doing? What should they be investing in?
Mm-hmm.
How should they do this? Because it's a challenging topic.
Mm-hmm.
What are the key areas which they should focus on to minimize the potential threat
Mm-hmm.
when they turn their business on and it becomes online? Because they have to do that. If they don't, they can't compete. So this is the balancing act, and we're actively involved helping Filipinos and SMEs leverage the benefits
Mm-hmm.
of digital and not be scared of the threats. The threats are there. There's threat everywhere in the world. I mean, when I
Mm-hmm.
leave my hotel later, there's buses crossing the street without stopping, but I'm aware of it. I know when to stop. I know when to look. It's the same thing with cyber. How do we prepare people for it?
And this is very exciting topics. This is very exciting discussion on data privacy and how and businesses can make themselves cyber fit, and how can we help SMEs to leverage all these digital technologies to upscale their operations without being scared of all these threats. Of course, like Steven said, there's always threat. There's always a threat, but we can always manage the threat if you are aware or empowered. And when we will be taking a short break, but we will be right back. And after our return, we will discuss more about how businesses can navigate this path of complying with data privacy. We'll be right back.
Iba ng panahon, ang dami ng bago ngayon. Pati ang mundo natin, well, nagbago na rin. Buti ang magbayan, bigger, better na. You can buy it sa centers, pati sa mga partners, may online pa at app. You can buy it with your fingers, still don't remittance and more. Online shopping, you can buy it all. Di magpadala, you can buy it all. Anumang pera transaction, you can buy it all. Sabayan ang pagbabago ng mundo for all your pera transactions, all new Bayan.
And we're back. You're still watching Usapang Business, and still with us, of course, is Mr. Steven Schuerman of Palo Alto Networks. Before we took a break, we discussed We had a very exciting discussion with Mr. Steven Schuerman regarding how to manage and leverage digital technology through our digital transformation, and how it can help small businesses, particularly to to advance and upscale their operation. So now to tell us more about the digital compliance and how we can further improve the use of all these digital tools to our advantage is, of course, we will continue our discussion with Mr. Steven Schuerman. So, Mr. Steven, how can businesses navigate the path of complying with data privacy and protection legislation and initiatives in the country, particularly the Philippines?
Yeah, so specific to the Philippines, I can share one very exciting example for the Philippine market. So many countries across the world, so not specific to the Philippines, I made reference to the challenges around skills, expertise in cyber. Even our organization, we're the leading world's number one cybersecurity company, and we also are constantly looking for talent. So there is a shortage of talent in this space. So how do you comply? How do you manage data privacy, etc., is challenging if you don't have the expertise. Um, so imagine if your organization has the budget, but if you can't find the people, so I mean, you still can't address the problem. So coming back to the Philippines, I mean, we're very fortunate. As an example, we work very closely with Globe. Now, Globe uses our technology internally, so they're a customer of ours, but more importantly, they're a critical partner of ours for the SME space in the Philippines. So what they do is they use our technology and deliver security services, cyber across, the Philippines to SMEs that simply would never ever have the capability to hire people to address data privacy, the threat landscape, and the fear of a potential cybercrime. So our ability to leverage a partner like Globe to deliver world-class cybersecurity services to the Philippine SME space is a wonderful opportunity for us to help the Philippines develop the digital economy, especially the SME space, because I mentioned this is the engine for the Philippines' GDP. It's a critical part of your economy.
So, can you cite the specific technology that Palo Alto Network is providing Globe for the SMEs?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the full potential spectrum. So let me give you some examples. Companies now will want to put their applications, for example, payments, etc., into the cloud because it's more efficient. If you do an update to the payment application, to update, the app, to provide more bells and whistles, this is a very tedious task. So if your managed service partner is hosting the cloud for you and delivering that application to the cloud and ensuring, here's the key part, it's secure, this is a big plus to you. I mean, your job is to sell services. It might be delivering food on a motorbike in Makati. Why would you be worried about updating the application in the cloud? That's not your focal business. Your business is to deliver food.
Yeah.
So, focus on your business. They can deliver the applications and services in the cloud. That's one example. You might be an SME with offices across the Philippines. So as I mentioned, you could have an office in Mindanao. You could have an office in Quezon. You could have an office on Boracay. I would be managing that branch because I would want to be in Boracay. And you'd have offices in Makati and Manila, etc. That network of those offices, you're not an enterprise company, but you have multiple locations, and the potential of a bad actor attacking one of those remote locations and getting into your network to steal your data is highly possible. So, our managed service partner could manage your network for you to look at the threat landscape and ensure that those remote branches are protected from any potential threat. So there are two examples. But I mean, there are many examples in the security spectrum where a partner can deliver this more efficiently, more quicker, and obviously at the highest level of cyber world standard, because they're using what we sell them and what we partner with them on.
You've also mentioned earlier that the talent is is one of the key challenges in cybersecurity space. In fact, even companies you've visited, even companies like Palo Alto, with the leading company in cybersecurity, also experiences challenges in acquisition of talents. And even here, it's very evident that we are lacking in that department. However, the bad actor seems to be very much ahead. So how do you reconcile the challenges in deficiencies in talent, and then the skill level of bad actors in launching attacks against companies or SMEs or just about everybody?
Yeah. Okay. I love this question. So thank you for this question. There's two parts here. So on the talent piece, I think it's really important, and I'm going to say it now on your show, to be in the cybersecurity space is really, really super cool. Okay. Why do I say that? Because living in Asia, and I'm part Asian, your parents would tell you to become a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, etc. So, who would have thought that cyber is cool? So, the first thing we need to do is to make it very clear to young people, get into this space. The future, where the world is going into digital, cyber people and security experts are going to be critical. So let's make it clear. It's damn cool. So we all that's the first part, attracting the talent and making people understand it's cool. Then providing the curriculum, the exposure, the internships to get the skills, hands-on experience. So that's what we are actually already doing at Palo Alto Networks. Unfortunately, this takes some time. So we've started this. I hope, we're starting to see interns to come into our organization and into other companies already. So in due course, this number will increase. In the interim, okay, what are some other things that we can do to be ahead of the bad actors? So this is the really cool part also about Palo Alto Networks and why I love working here. So most of the space of cyber and security has been about an incident happens and we respond. Okay? They're the two parts. Now think about it. If the bank has been robbed already and the robbers are really good, will you get the money back? Probably not. Okay,
Yeah.
if the robber is very good. So here's the thing. Our organization, our company, Palo Alto Networks, sat down and had to think about this. And it was really evident. If you can do an examination after an incident and you can find out 1 day later, 1 week later, 1 month later, oh, this is what happened. This is how the bad actor got into the organization. This is how they collected the data, and this is what they stole. If you can do that analysis and that forensics, why couldn't you stop this? So this has been the problem that's existed in the security space for a long time. But what's very unique for us, and this is what's the cool part, we have 85,000 plus customers. We have our telemetry, so all the data we collect from our customers on the network, on the endpoint, the cloud. So we're gathering information from many, many different sources. Because of that, this organization I work for has the ability to start seeing threats evolving before they happen. So there's been a number of threats around the world globally and also in ASEAN in recent years and months that we were able to detect before the broad public knew. So a lot of our work is doing this detection before it happens and then informing our customers and the agencies. So the police agencies, the cybercrime agencies, we see this threat, it's coming. And we're investing more and more time in this space to be proactive and preventative. So we have the technology piece, which we now can do because of our footprint and all the data we have. So here's the interesting part. We talked about data, protecting it. Data used in the right way can be incredibly proactive and beneficial. So we're using the data in the right way to stop threats. And then of the people element, as I said, look, it's a really cool place to work. Cyber is the future and digital is going to happen, like it or not, unless you find a cave or sit on the beach in Boracay, then maybe you don't care about digital, but it's important.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you completely that cybersecurity is very cool job. In fact, if my age will still allow it, I want to shift career and be a cybersecurity expert because
You can, you
the
can.
pay there is much higher than what I'm getting.
You still can, trust me. Anytime. If I can, you can.
so, so how crucial is technology in ensuring that compliance and with privacy and data protection regulations?
Sorry, the question again is
How crucial is technology in ensuring compliance with privacy and data protection regulations?
Yeah, I mean, so how important is technology ensuring compliance? Well, there needs to be checks and measures that compliance levels are being met. So of course, so here's the interesting part. This question is actually really good because you can create a regulation, you can require institutions to ensure they meet a certain compliance level, but what is the check, measure, and validation that compliance has been met? So, typically, because just of the size of these organizations now, you can't do a manual check that everyone is compliant. So technology does have a role in ensuring that compliance levels have been met. So this space is typically called governance, risk, and compliance. It's GRC, this space. So it's really important, you create a regulation. There's governance around it. So, control. So in security, we talk about controls. You create regulations, and then you have controls in place that, passwords are changed every 90 days, that web browsing is cleared, that your antivirus has been updated, that you have a zero trust policy. So those controls are in place and administered, and there is compliance. So you automate the compliance. Automation's important because when your organization becomes very big, you cannot expect your compliance team to check that everything is okay. We're human beings. Today I'm very fresh. I had a good sleep. Tomorrow I might be sleepy and I forget to do something and an incident happens. So the technology piece on ensuring compliance is very important.
So there you have it, Katribu. Everything is going digital. You can't escape going digital, and going or taking a career in cyber is very cool. It's damn cool, as Steven Schuerman said. But again, we will take a short break, and we'll be after our return, we will talk more about cybersecurity solutions for the Filipinos. So stay tuned.
Iba ng panahon, ang dami ng bago ngayon. Pati ang mundo natin, well, nagbago na rin. Buti ano bayan, bigger, better na. You can buy it sa centers, pati sa mga partners, may online pa at app. You can buy it with your fingers, still don't remittance and more. Online shopping, you can buy it all. Di magpadala, you can buy it all. Anumang pera transaction, you can buy it all.
Sabayan ang pagbabago ng mundo for all your pera transactions, all new Bayan.
Every time I'm on the road, I can expect high performance from Phoenix Fuels. Now with Pulse technology, delivers enhanced power and acceleration to make every trip come alive.
Fiber is the free and secure way to connect with friends and family, anywhere. Send messages and make phone and video calls for free. Download Viber now.
And you're still watching Usapang Katrib. And still with us is Steven Schuerman of Palo Alto Networks. Sir Steven, it was a very exciting discussion with you. We've learned a lot today, and again, it reinforced my conviction to change career, because it's really damn cool, as you said, to have a career or establish a career in the cyberspace. So one last question before we end this program, and this will be you can also address our viewers and readers to about the importance of cybersecurity. So, how does Palo Alto Networks differ from other cybersecurity solutions providers in the market?
How do we differ? So that's a
Yeah.
great. So I made reference to the fact that we are truly end to end. So our DNA started in the network. We're now at the endpoint. We're in the operations center. We're in the cloud. We do DevOps. So we're the full spectrum of security. Why is that important, and why does that make us different? I made reference to us being proactive. We have the ability to see the entire threat landscape. Bad actors, rogue nations, criminals, when they conduct an attack, they will probe different parts of an organization. So they will probe the network, they may attack an endpoint, they may attack a mobile device, an ATM device, a network, etc. Many organizations have different solutions and products on those different pieces, and it's very hard to join the dots, to stitch the story together. Because we're the full spectrum, we have the ability to see how these different incidences are not anomalous, they're in fact related. So that makes us very, very different. That's point one. The second point is, we talked a lot about talent today. I truly believe this organization, Palo Alto Networks, has many of the most brilliant people in the cybersecurity space. And the important part is we're incredibly passionate about it. I wake up in the morning, and till the moment I pass out, I'm thinking about this topic. And even on the weekend when I'm not working, I'm thinking about it. I bump into someone, I see that they're doing something very strange on their phone, and I say, do you realize that's probably not a good thing to do? So we're incredibly passionate about this topic, which is important. The third thing is, the whole landscape is constantly changing. Digital is evolving on a daily basis. So we as an organization, Palo Alto Networks, invest into R&D 2.5 times the amount compared to the 3 largest organizations that supposedly compete against us. So the point being is, we're investing so much money back into the product. We're constantly evolving and staying ahead of the threat, and we're developing product to be always looking at different ways to do things more efficiently, faster, better, etc., which is important to our customers and to everyone that has a cyber problem. So those 3 things I think makes us very, very unique. And of course, specific to the Philippines, we have people on the ground, so we know the market. We're committed to the Philippines. We have many customers there. Myself, I'm actually in the Philippines next week. So I did a very bad no-no there. I should not have disclosed my movement details, but there's a little hint for you. So, we're very committed to the Philippines as a market, as is to ASEAN and to JPAC, Asia Pacific. So they're the key points at flag. And that makes us very special. We are very, very passionate and committed to this topic.
Okay, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, and mga katribu. You cannot escape digital technology. You cannot escape going digital. The whole world is going digital, and I don't know if you maybe have not noticed it, but the world is changing as we speak now, and everything is going digital. But because the globe or our lifestyle is adopting technology at a very, very accelerated pace, there's also the threat or the bad actors taking advantage of it. So you have to protect yourself or your company or your organization from all these threats using end-to-end solutions offered by companies like Palo Alto. And doing so, you have to leverage technology as well to your advantage. You have to use it to upskill your operations and your people, so that they will anticipate all these threats or challenges that the technology is or will throw at you. And of course, the most important thing that you have to understand is the cyberspace is a cool damn space to work with. So you can it's great, or it's it offers a great opportunity for career. So it's it's one area where you can actually create a damn cool career path. So again, I am Komfie Manalo, and thank you very much, Mr. Steven Schuerman. I hope to see you when you visit the Philippines next week.
Let's do that. Salamat.
And thank you very much, and hope to see you. And thank you very much for taking your time for Usapang Business.
Thank you. Salamat.
And watch Usapang Business every Monday at 3:30 p.m. And of course, watch tomorrow's Straight Talk at 10 a.m. We will have General former AFP Chief of Staff and now the Director General of the Bureau of Correction, General Katapang. And of course, please watch Gising Na, our omni-media show from 7:30 to 9 a.m. every Monday to Friday over the Radyo Bayu TV, simulcast on DCRJ 810 AM, and also live streamed over the Facebook pages of the Daily Tribune, Radyo Bayu TV, and DCRJ. So once again, this is Komfie Manalo, and this has been Usapang Business.